There's no more room in hell. The dead will walk the earth. Dawn of the Dead. Good night, everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about a creature that is extremely popular at the moment in pop culture. There are a few cultures throughout the world who have creatures that are basically reanimated corpses. I'm going to be going over two of those. Two that play the most influence in Western cultures. So, as before, I'm going to go over the folklore of these two creatures. I'll touch up on the pop culture interpretations, but very little. These are going to be The Walking Dead, as it is called in one group. Zombies, reanimated corpses, and the like. Come on. I have my baby here with me. Yes. So, I will visit the modern view, and I'll also give a couple hypotheses on the zombie outbreak. The two creatures, of course, one's going to be the zombie. The second one is going to be a Draugr. So, to begin with, I will go over the Draugr. So, for anyone who has played Skyrim, you would be familiar with the Draugr. You could also say the White Walkers from the Game of Thrones could be considered Draugr as well. I'll explain that a little later. The Draugr were reanimated corpses. They were usually fallen warriors. Now, these were not reanimated as the zombies were through sorcery, but I mean, it could have been some sorcery, but for the most part, it was through sheer will of the person who had died. They usually guarded treasures that was buried with them in their graves, tombs, or barrows. They could also wander the land, wreaking havoc as zombies do in modern culture. They were said to have superhuman strength, and their presence was foretold by an unusual thick fog or darkness. And that is part of what links them to the White Walkers of Game of Thrones. Another part is the only way to kill a Draugr was to cut off the head and burn the body, much like the White Walkers. You can read more about the Draugr in the Nordic sagas and the Eddas. I'm actually having a copy of one of the sagas coming in this week. It's the saga of Volsung. These sagas tell of heroes and monsters to the Nordic people. Now let's go on to zombies. So this is the most popular monster in the last decade anyway. Traditional zombies are nothing like the modern zombie. Zombie comes from the predominantly African religion of Vodou. Similar to voodoo, it's actually a little old. It's older. It was brought to America with the slaves. Voodoo is an evolution of Vodou, and both are a mix of different religions. I'm not going to be going into detail about these religions. For one, I don't really know a lot about them. And another, I don't want to disrespect anyone that practices them because of my lack of knowledge. I believe you shouldn't disrespect a religion, whether you understand it or not. The original zombie, they were servants raised from the dead by a dark practitioner. They didn't have the superhuman strength. They weren't rotting corpses like you see the modern zombies. They were said to have had blank stares and worked without thought, because the sorcerer was said to have stolen part of their soul. The fear associated with zombies at that time was not from the zombies themselves, but from being turned into a zombie by one of the practitioners. The zombies didn't eat human flesh. It was hypothesized that the practitioners created zombies with a substance. Whether it's a potion or another form, they would give it to the person. This substance is believed to contain tetrodotoxin. This is a sodium channel blocker. It inhibits certain nerve functions. The cat's causing me to lose train of thought. There's a lot of different animals that have have this toxin. It is kind of a mouthful to say. It's most commonly known to be associated with pufferfish. It's pretty much if you eat a pufferfish, you can eat fugu, which is a Japanese delicacy that is pufferfish. The chef has to be licensed to cook or to prepare that, and if they mess up, you will pretty much die. It is extremely toxic. So it is believed that so basically if it's consumed in the right amount, so if it's not enough to kill you, then it becomes a form of kind of a living death. The heart rate and breathing usually go undetectable without sophisticated equipment, and the toxin itself has to run its course. It is believed that the dark magicians would know the exact amount to give someone. The person would appear dead, and then they'd be buried. Then the sorcerer, who had calculated the correct amount of time that would pass, they would go and once the toxin had run its course on the poor soul that was buried alive, they would go and dig up their victim and make them their new zombie. I'm not aware of any actual evidence to this happening, but it is a hypothesis that's went around the scientific community. Zombies in pop culture were they were basically thought up by George Romero in his film The Night of the Living Dead. It was released in 1968. He originally did not call them zombies. That came about later when other people started calling them zombies. It is not mentioned why these, at least not in the original movie, why the corpses came back. Later on, in different genres at least, or different, not genres, but different titles, it would be something like a virus or an infection that would spread. They have become extremely popular. So, my thoughts on the zombie apocalypse that everybody likes to hear about. For one, reanimated corpses after any amount of time whatsoever is highly improbable. If you bring someone back from the dead that is longer than a few minutes without some form of life support, their brain function will have begin to die, or their brain would have begin to die, and they would have severe brain damage. There are a couple of possibilities, though extremely improbable. First would actually be a virus, something like rabies, that would impact the brain and cause mass insanity once it swept through the population, or at least a loss of higher mental of the mental processes. There is a fungus that infects certain type of ants, and it's been coined the zombie fungus. These ants live in the tropics. Basically, what happens is this fungus infects an ant, and it causes the ant to leave its colony. It completely takes over the ant, it would then cause the ant to attach itself to a vein on the underside of a leaf. The ant will eventually die, but the fungus will actually have control of that ant until then to keep it from releasing. The fungus will go through its phases and fruit. The fruiting bodies of the fungus will burst through the ant's head. It is kind of disturbing on a small level. So it is extremely improbable. Even this is it's a short cycle, generally between 4 to 10 days. Usually within 4, the ant dies. A virus spreads rapidly, especially when it's airborne, as we have seen, unfortunately, with the pandemic crossing the globe. If something like the rabies virus was to become airborne, or one of the other illnesses, if there was something similar that attacked the brain and caused insanity in people, caused people to lose control, it would devastate the human population. This is a short video, not as short as I wanted it. It's not a whole lot I can give within a short amount of time. You can find, there's a YouTube channel called Stories that is affiliated with PBS. I would highly recommend that. There's a couple videos on zombies, both the traditional zombie as well as the Romero zombies. So check that out. If you haven't liked, or if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. If you don't mind, hit the like button. Comment it if you have anything to say whatsoever. And you have a great day.